we've been travelling up Central Australia, following the path of John Stewart, a Scottish-born explorer who crossed the continent in 1862. He devoted his life to finding a route from South Australia to the North Coast, sponsored by both private citizens and governments who wanted to find a telegraph route to connect the continent of separate colonies to Asia and the world. Me, I've devoted my life, well, this trip at least, to visiting as many craft breweries and iconic Aussie hotels as I can. Like Stuart, we started in the South Australian capital, but we only have to travel the 3,000 k's once. Past the Flinders Ranges, through the opal capital of the world, into the Red Centre, and out into the tropical top end. So we've finally made it here to where John Stewart's journey ended all those years ago. To be honest, it didn't take us that long. Way less time than it took for him. And I'm really struggling to figure out what the big deal is. But maybe it was sort of like the 4-minute mile. People used to think that would be hard to do. But now nearly everyone can run a mile in 4 minutes or under, I assume. I've never tried personally, but I bet I could if I wanted to. Anyway, really looking forward to having a look around here in Darwin and see what we can see.
He's out there, somewhere, crossing country, north to south, east to west, following rainbows for the liquid pot of gold. The man is amber obsessed. He's conquering fears, drinking boutique beers, just for you and me. He's a man on a mission, a liquid dietitian, a bearded brewery magician. Ah, he's the beer pioneer. He is the beer pioneer. He's the beer pioneer. He's the admiral of cheer. He's the admiral of cheer. He is the amber cavalier. He's the amber cavalier. And he's the malted musketeer. He's the malted musketeer. He is the bevy buccaneer. He's the bevy buccaneer. Oh yes, he is the beer pioneer. Oh yes, he is.
It took Stewart some 6 expeditions over 4 years to make the trip. It's taken us a mere 3 weeks, and today we've reached Darwin, marking the end of the historic journey. In July 1862, he finally reached the coast just outside present-day Darwin, and within a year the Northern Territory was created under the colony of South Australia. As I read my final John Stewart memorial plaque, I realise that my journey isn't over yet. Unlike him, I don't need to make the perilous journey back to Adelaide. I'm a free man, and there's still plenty on offer over the next few days as I take in the top end. I love the big cities. Hey, big and small, doesn't worry me, but it's nice after being in tiny towns for a while to get back to a big city and have the choice of anything. You name a cuisine. Thai. Done. Japanese, tick. Texas ribs. We got that covered here. When in Darwin, there's a list of things you've got to do. And I've got my own version of that list, which starts and almost ends with visiting the only 100% family-owned and operated microbrewery in Darwin. And it's just 10 minutes from the city centre. I'm meeting Chris, the passionate brewer letting loose in a shed.
I was in the army, so I spent 16 years in the army, and I always loved beer. Always. I think everyone that drinks beer, their dream one day is to open a brewery. So, And I come back from Afghanistan, and 3 days later, my first boy was born. And there was that day I said, I'm never going away again. I said, I'm done. And that's when I started to go, right, where this is actually what I want to do. How do I get there to do it? So my wife got a job down in Hobart. So I took 12 months leave and was a stay-at-home dad. So 2 days a week he'd go to school and I'd go and volunteer in a brewery. So then got back here and thought, bugger it, why not? So we just bought all the gear and then went from there. You know, if you don't try, how do you ever know? And I didn't want to wake up one day and go, man, I wish I'd have done that 5 years ago. And so if you're doing something you love, it's not work. It's the best hobby I've ever had.
Bloody hell. Thought this guy was a brewer, not a life coach. I'm inspired. Where I'm guessing, are you Beaver? Is that where did the name come from?
So Steve Menzies. So
Oh, is that like a rugby
I'm a
league
Manly,
hero?
yeah, I'm a Manly Seagull supporter.
There's got to be no bigger honour in sports than having a brewery named after you. Brewing in Darwin also meant catering to the climate and demographics here.
You know, in Melbourne, you look nothing more than in winter going down have a nice big stout.
Yeah.
In winter here, it still only gets to 28, 26. You know, it plays a big part that you've got to have drinkable beers. You've got to have stuff that we try and make beers that 8 out of 10 people will drink. So not too extreme. And when we started out, we've made everything on a lighter scale, and now we're starting to build into it.
You've still got it. I mean, it's bigger ranges I've seen since we're in Adelaide. I'd say.
Look, I love beer.
Yeah.
I love beer. I love making beer, and we've got a big range, but we don't sort of do it on the extreme side of it. So you can make a really big, robust porter. We make ours, an oatmeal porter, so it's not over the top. We just try and open people's eyes. And if you haven't got an option there, they're not going to try.
I really love this. They're a band of brewing brothers. We got Chris here at Beaver, Adam from Purple Mango, and Kyle from Alice Springs. They've all teamed up to help cement craft beer's place here in the NT.
Because you have one bad beer, people come to the territory and go, oh, that territory beer was rubbish. There's only 3 or 4 of us here, so they're not going to associate it with an individual brewery. So the more people drinking craft beer, the better it is for everybody. Because up here, we struggle really badly with tap contracts. So the more people that are trying craft beer and the more people walk into a pub and say, hey, have you got that on? It doesn't matter if it's mine, whose it is. It means that it's starting to change people's minds. And it's not at the ground level we have to change it, it's the publicans and everywhere above that. Like the more craft beer sold, the better it is. So
Time to have a little look at the setup.
we had 3 fermenters to start off with, and now we've sort of doubled our size. We've always brewed on the 500 litre Braumeister. We needed something mobile that, if we're in a tiny little shed, I can move it around or something like that. So the original plan with this was to have it a hobby and not a job. And that's how we want to keep it. So right now we're at peak capacity, and I can still go and pick my kids up, I drop them off to school, I get to sports carnivals.
I imagine it must be tempting to want to keep growing with it.
It is, but within the industry you work out real quickly, you're either small or you're big, and if you go in between, that's where you run your risk of bankrupt and getting out, and things happen bad in the industry for it. So
that's great. But it sounds like you got the work-life balance.
I love it.
What are we drinking now? This is the Buffhead?
The Buffhead, yeah. This one was made specifically for the Darwin environment. So we needed a beer that wasn't overly crafted. When people walk in and they say, I drink VB, I drink Carlton Dry, I drink all these different beers, you just say
Blackfish.
There's the Buffhead. I've actually got a brown saison we've just made, a hazy IPA. I know that in Melbourne everyone has these everywhere, but for Darwin you got to ease into it.
Let's ease in then, eh? Brown, it looks like every logo are they all based on a different person?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all about family here, and it's all about a family member or someone that's had something to do in our life. So we're lucky. So it's got my son. If he was going to be a girl, it'd be Lulu. It's my sister, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my other son, my wife, my mate, Captain Bligh from down in Hobart, my dad, a very good friend, my nephew, the bloke that does the graphic design, JJ, my niece, my other son, my nephew.
Amazing.
And now all the family come up every time we're saying, what about?
You've created a bit of a nightmare for yourself.
I have absolutely created a massive nightmare.
Now, I don't want to tell you what to do, but would it be all right if we try a couple?
Absolutely. Why not? While we're here. When in Rome, they say.
What size are these glasses? They're not butchers, are they?
No, depends on where you're from.
Yeah.
A pony, a little 200 ml.
They're ponies, they're ponies.
Growing up in Newcastle, they were middies, but we just, these are what we have in our tasting paddles.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Oh man, you can taste it or smell the passion fruit.
Yeah, it's the closest thing to passion in a beer.
That's refreshing.
Not over the top. It's about 350 grams a keg. So it's not too bad.
It's a powerful, you can really smell it.
Yeah, but it's not overly powerful on your palate, which is sort of what we're trying to get at.
In a lot of ways, you drink with your nose.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. You drink with your eyes. Yeah, so and that is up here. People have a look at it and go, either I do want to drink it or I don't. They'll see it by sight and go, dark beers. Oh no, I can't drink dark beer. Well, just try it.
So I like the pony size. It feels like this is what the old timers used to drink, I think. Yeah, it's like the 6 o'clock swill.
Up here in the heat, that's the olden days. They used to just drink. This is all they had. Was the little ones. Because otherwise it got too hot.
You're right.
Yeah. So same when we do our tasting paddles, we actually don't give out all the 4 beers in one.
I love the look of a paddle, but brewers hate them because by the time you're drinking the last one, it's not where it should be.
Yeah, and most of the time, by the time you're drinking your last one, they've forgotten what the first one was, and is this one? And at times it gets hot in here, but people come in, have a few beers, and...
Wait, is it not hot in here now?
No, this is quite good. I didn't even have the fan on before you got here, so I just turned it up when you turned it.
Sweat's dripping down my
face. The
face.
flano's not helping you, but it's actually quite nice here today, so... Wet season up here, it gets really, really wet up here too, but you're just used to it.
That's normally when the crocodiles come in.
Well, float down the street, that's how it happens. Normally carrying a kangaroo on their back or something like that,
Now the doctor, I'm guessing that's your wife?
That's my wife, yeah. So she's the brains, the financial backing, the whole lot behind this place. I get to do what I do because of her, it's our family revolves around what she does, and she does a fantastic job looking after us. So
pretty hoppy.
Yeah, it's
You're talking about trying to keep them subtle.
Yeah, we tried to match it a little bit with the malts as well, so it wasn't as big as it probably could be. So it's a little bit malty on the side as well. You probably have heard people, that smells like perfume. So it's just trying to subtly bring the people into the industry. So
maybe time for one more?
Love dark beers. They're our favourite. My favourite ever beer, Dougie Brown Ale.
I'll tell you what, Brownie. If I lived in Darwin, this would be my regular for sure. I love it here.
That's great.
So cool.
Thanks very much.
Oh, thanks so much for having us, and cheers to Dougie.
Cheers to Dougie. Thanks for coming, boys. Cheers.
Geez, I'd be happy to just kick back here all day long, but we got to keep moving because there's plenty more to see.
He is the beer pioneer.
While the main Pacific military base for Britain and Australia lay in Singapore, Darwin played a crucial role in protecting the mainland during the Second World War. Fortifications and garrison accommodations were constructed just outside the city, with artillery guns and even a submarine net. By the end of 1940, there were over 2,000 troops in Darwin, and numbers continued to grow until the Japanese attacked in February of 1942, the largest attack on Australia in its history. 47 vessels were at anchor in the harbour when the first attack hit just before 10 a.m. The 2 raids that day killed over 250 people and wounded about 400 more. In the hours following the raid, believing that an invasion was imminent, Darwin's remaining population began to stream southwards, heading for Adelaide River and the train south. Cut to the present day, and Darwin's well and truly bounced back, and I gotta tell you, I'm loving it. It's round 2, and I'm heading into the heart of town to check out Charlie's. Not just as a way to escape the humidity, but to visit Darwin Distilling Company, the first modern distillery in the city. Geez, first impression, this place is a little more polished than the outback pubs we've gotten used to on this trip. Gonna head out to meet the owner and take in a bit of this beautiful Darwin atmosphere. Beck, what a beautiful spot this is.
Thanks, Matt.
I can't believe it. And this is all yours.
Mine and the bank's.
Now, what percentage are we working with here? How much does the bank own still? I don't know if this is a personal question.
Look,
How
it
deep
is a
into the mortgage
personal.
are you?
Didn't help that we opened up 11 days before COVID shut us down, so that was a little bit not budgeted for, but otherwise,
That's rough.
working hard to pay it off. We've got some great produce around here, some really sort of interesting bush food and bush tucker, and also like this wonderful melting pot of different flavours that I'd never come across. So I thought, well, let's utilise what we've got around here and give a distillery a shot.
That's pretty exciting. Okay, who is Charlie?
Well, Charlie's my grandpa, my great-grandpa. He taught me patience, not the way...
The card game?
The card game,
Yeah.
not waiting for things to happen in Darwin. It took 2 years for this to happen, and one of the reasons I'm up here in Darwin, his grandson's name's Charlie. And Charles Darwin, that's what Darwin's named after. I love the lifestyle here. Things are very relaxed, very chilled. It's
Getting
fun.
to sweat, straight after having a shower.
Yeah, it's okay. This is nothing.
This is nothing.
This is nothing.
So I want to try it out in the build-up or the wet.
The wet is absolutely gorgeous. It shouldn't be a bad term. The thunderstorms, the lightning storms are just magic. Everything's green. I really love Darwin at all seasons.
You can imagine a thunderstorm looking pretty sweet out
Yeah.
from this view.
Just the magic. And our sunsets are beautiful, always, every day. You know,
The colours we've seen have
Yeah.
been ridiculous.
Yeah. Have a beer overlooking the water is fantastic. Or a gin. I wouldn't mind having a gin.
Hey, you are a ginfluencer after all. I feel like I'm being ginfluenced right
Yes.
now.
But you know, gin's good for malaria.
Is it true?
The reason that gin and tonics were created was to be anti-malarial in the subcontinents.
Does Darwin have much of a history with gin?
No, it does not. Our liquor licensing laws until very recently were quite strict on anything and any producers up here. So it wasn't until 2018 that they changed the laws.
Oh, interesting.
Had lots of hurdles to get over.
Isn't that why you get into a business, for hurdles and legal fees? Fine print?
I love red tape.
Do you?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's my
great.
favourite.
Feels like you're in the right spot
Yeah,
then.
no. I hope your editing's really good.
No, this is all going out live. Hi, Mum. I would love to get back into the air conditioned bit.
Let's go.
Can I have So this is where the magic happens.
It is. We've got two stills, a 500 litre and a 50 litre. This is our experimental still, and this is the Big Bertha.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful bit of kit. Now the copper top, do they all look like that with the copper up top? Steel
Some
down
are
below?
completely copper.
But how does this work?
This is a giant kettle. We've got some elements in there. It will boil it up, turns from liquid into a vapour, and that's where the flavour comes out.
Right.
And then goes through all of the different columns, all the pot up, still in steam mode, and then comes down the condenser, and then the juice comes out.
It feels like a Willy Wonka machine that isn't real. You're telling me this is a real thing. What, this wall over here, all sorts of flavours. What's going on there?
So this is the real reason that this bar exists, is for those flavours. So we use uniquely Territorian botanicals, things like turkey bush, pearl shell, paperbark, tea tree, kakadu plums. We individually distill them. So actually they're not gins at the moment because they have no juniper. So without juniper it's not gin. So they are flavoured vodkas.
This seems like enough fun. Even if you didn't get gin involved, just come in here and it's like going to 40 flavours ice cream as a kid. I mean, I've already been putting something together in my head. How does this sound, okay? I get paperbark. That's not just the first one I saw. I've been thinking about this. Paperbark with cluster fig and top it off with choc pudding. And then obviously you got the junipers.
Yes.
Does that sound good?
No.
Oh.
The cluster fig and the chocolate pudding would go together very well,
Well, that's a good start.
but the paperbark would just give it too much of a herbal
Oh, well, I
element
gotta
to it.
tell you, I was joking about the paperbark.
Okay,
What I meant to
that's
say was blood orange.
That would be delicious.
Thank you.
Why don't we give it a try?
Yeah. What, really?
Yeah, we can blend it up now. See how good you are.
I didn't know that was a possibility.
Yes, of course it is.
I wonder what choc pudding and habanero chili would be like. Chili chocolate is a sick combo. But I already selected randomly. I can't go back now. I don't know what some of the words I said mean. I was just reading off the Nantucket bottles. These bottles are all branded Nantucket, which reminds me, I once knew a guy from Nantucket. Not much more to the story. He was a pretty good guy.
He is the beer pioneer.
So I'm at the Darwin Distilling Company, and after getting a few of my carefully selected ingredients, it's time to have a little taste.
Why don't you pour a little bit,
Yep.
see how it goes?
And do I just try this straight like this?
Yes.
To me, that's already good. Add a little Angelica root, apparently. I'm doing an interview on radio later, and I feel like I might be incoherent.
Those
A tap?
taps.
I hope so.
Now I'm looking for about 5 mil. And
Oh.
you've just put about 15 in. Great. Come on over.
All right, so this is...
That's the new one with the habanero and the Angelica root, which is a traditional.
Oh yeah, it tastes totally different.
Yes.
It's like It's like more like this.
Balanced?
Balanced, thank you. And yeah, a bit of chili at the back.
Yeah.
You can actually taste the chili. You can feel it. Wow. That's awesome.
So you got your own signature blend now.
Tell you what, put a label on this. This could be your next big seller.
Could be.
This may be the best gin I've ever had. And I made it.
It's got a lot of chili at the back.
Which is good, right?
Yes.
I think I want to, as good as this is, oh yeah, there's a lot of chili in that. Look, I'm pretty good at picking up subtle hints, and I think I'm getting the subtle hint that my expertise is no longer wanted here. But before I go, the kitchen's sending out a few choice NT bites. What a great afternoon we've had here at Charlie's and Darwin Distillery. It's quite a hidden spot, but once you're in here, it feels like you're in the classiest joint in town. So we've got lamb ribs, some arancini balls, and one of their signature dishes, crocodile dumplings. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. Cheers. That's about it for my day in Darwin, but I've been told I gotta head up to Mindil Beach for an epic sunset. And it looks like I'm not the only one. There's a market here every Thursday and Sunday during the dry season, and it's looking like the perfect place to grab a little something to eat and to kick back and think about what I've done. Got a multi-curry dish, beetroot, potatoes, dal, rice, and a garlic roti. It's a fitting spot to take some time to look out over the Indian Ocean, just as John McDougall Stewart would have done all those years ago. Sure, they were slightly different circumstances, but we both covered the same ground under the same sun. So, as far as I'm concerned, same. So we were just checking into our accommodation in Darwin. We didn't realise this was even on, but they said at reception, you got to get down and see the sunset markets. And I reckon probably everyone in the Northern Territory is here tonight. It's absolutely packed out. Got myself a Sri Lankan curry. It's delicious. And yeah, I'm just watching the sun go down. Absolute paradise. Love and life. Cheers. After the expedition, John McDougall Stewart was hailed as a hero upon his return to Adelaide. White-haired, exhausted and nearly blind, Stewart decided to visit his sister in Scotland. But he never recovered from the many years of malnutrition, scurvy or the bacteria causing his blindness, and he died several years later in 1866. Do you think this is the kind of crowd that would applaud the sun going down? You know, you get that sometimes? They're clapping the sun. Feels like you've set a too low of a standard. That happens every day. You were furious as that boat went past the sunset. I thought that added a little something. Next time on the Beer Pioneer. Before I head home, I'm getting a heavy dose of iconic Northern Territory shenanigans. We've got crocs, boats, helicopters, and even more crocs. See you next time on the Beer Pioneer.